Hey, what's up guys, Chris here, back in No Man's Sky with a brand new guide, and today we're going to go over everything you need to know about freighters, including how to get the best ones available, how to upgrade them, as well as a few extra tips and tricks towards the end of this video. So let's jump right in, and of course a thumbs up on this video would also be very helpful. Anyway, to start things off, there are two main ways to acquire a supermassive max rank freighter in No Man's Sky, and one of them is the old method, while the other one is the newest method. The old method is pretty straightforward, you can do it at any point in the game, and it simply involves a little bit of in-game waiting time, a few system warps, and a ton of money at hand. The second method involves doing a part of the main storyline up until the point that the game rewards you with a freighter, and the advantage over here is that you can get this relatively early in the game if you're on a new game. It's also free, but once you pass it, you cannot do it again, and there's a few other restrictions I'll talk about when I'll go over this method. Anyway, let's start things off with the first one, with the one that can be done at any given point in the game, and that is the manual method. There are a few prerequisites here that you need to keep in mind. First of all, keep a lot of units at hand. A supermassive 34-slot S-class freighter costs 175 million units from scratch, minus of course the cost of your current freighter in case you have one. So that means that this is going to be probably your most expensive purchase yet. That's why I said have a lot of units at hand. From this point on, what you'll want to do is to either have the game opened or play it for 3 straight hours. There's no two ways around it. This is an absolute must, otherwise the freighter rescue mission will simply not spawn, no matter how many times you warp in whatever system. So just either keep the game open for 3 hours, not in the pause menu, not alt tabbed or anything, just opened on your main screen and leave it like that, or just straight out play it. If you do that, from this point on, it's going to be pretty easy, and the next thing that you'll need to do is to only warp 5 times. So after 5 system warps, on the 5th system warp that you do, you're going to have the freighter rescue mission spawn. You can engage into rescuing the mission and then checking what class, rank and size it has. But these are absolutely necessary, especially the 3-hour waiting window, and the 5 system warps are definitely going to be needed. And also, if you did any system warps before the 3 hours have passed, the game will take those into account as well. So here's a few tips and tricks before proceeding, and this is what I did in order to guarantee my success. So the first thing that I did is I simply set up a save point. This ensured that I have a permanent save file that I can always fall back to in case anything goes wrong, and then I also did a autosave by simply entering and exiting the ship. From this point on, I just went into space, entered into my galactic view, and started warping 5 times. For each system jump that I did, I made sure to go on the nearest planet and repeat the same save process again, just in case the next one in the sequence would spawn me the freighter rescue mission. So I did this 4 times, each time saving on the nearest planet, using both the save point as well as the ship itself, and on the 5th run is when I actually got the freighter rescue mission. So I stopped saving at this point because I knew that the previous save that I had in the previous system was the one that I actually had to start from. From this point on, if you did everything correctly, the next system jump that you do is always going to spawn a freighter rescue mission as well as the freighter you'll be looking for. It doesn't matter if you close and reopen the game, it's still going to behave the same. That is why I said that having these save files to fall on just in case are so very important, because this is where your actual hunting will start from. The best way to proceed is to go exclusively into rich systems, and that is because these have the highest chances to spawn maximum rank freighters or any other item in the game as well. That is why I recommend also having an economy scanner before doing all of this. In my case, what I did and what worked the best for me was to keep a mental image of the systems I warped into, and that is because I kept searching for a specific model, in this case the biggest of the biggest star destroyers with a yellow stripe. So I kinda kept a mental image and warped exclusively to rich systems up until I found this awesome freighter over here. So I knew this was the biggest of the biggest because it has about 8 sections. So pay close attention, it doesn't matter if you hunt for this specific model or the one that looks like the Sentinel ship, you will have to look for the number of sections they have, but generally speaking, they are really hard to miss. So when you finally find the supermassive one, you will definitely know. Once I pinpointed my system with the model that I liked, I simply went in and liberated the freighter over and over again. So each time you liberate it, go inside, talk to the captain and see what class it is. If it's not S-class, maximum rank, simply reload your previous save file and teleport to this system again. Now the disclaimer that I have here is that this is in no way, shape or form an easy process. It can definitely take a long time to get the proper class, and you can definitely spend even a whole day without actually getting it. Others can get lucky and just get an S-class in the first few tries that they do, but it's all a matter of luck. So if it just doesn't happen for you, just try again or leave it for tomorrow and continue doing it again, or maybe even try a different system because you already have the previous save files to fall back into and you can pretty much do the hunting from here on uninterrupted. But yeah, once you do actually get the proper class, just go talk to the captain and do the exchange, get it, because it's definitely going to be very useful. And congratulations on your brand new S-class freighter. Now I was talking about a second method and this is going to be a little bit easier and faster, but if you already passed that part of the mission, well, you kinda lost your chances. So here is how it goes. In the very beginning of the main storyline, it's hard-coded in the game for the third system warp that you do to always spawn a freighter rescue mission. It doesn't matter if you waited 3 minutes or 3 hours, that timer doesn't apply here anymore. As long as you do 3 system jumps, the third one is always going to spawn that freighter rescue mission, because that is also when the game rewards you your free freighter. And from here on you can use some of the tips from the previous method to prepare in advance for this one. So some of the things that you can do is to first ensure that you have a proper hyperdrive, because at the beginning of the game you're only going to have a 100 light years hyperdrive range, which will severely limit the range of your scouting. Second of all is to also create a save file right before the third system warp, so that you always know that the next system warp that you do is going to guarantee spawn your freighter. And yeah, from this point on it's pretty much the exact same process, except that this time it's going to be free, you're not going to have to pay anything, and it's also early, very early actually in the game. Otherwise, you can also decline your very first freighter in case you don't like it, in case it's not the appropriate class, and get another one later on for free, but I would be very careful with this one because I've heard a number of reports from people who actually lost the ability to get a free freighter later on, even though they declined only once. So don't wait for too long, try to get it as early as possible in the game because sometimes it can bug out. Anyway, if you followed any of these two methods, you're now probably the fresh owner of an amazing S-class 34-slot supermassive freighter where you can store literally anything. You can build your own base, though it is going to be definitely limited compared to the base building on planet surfaces. Otherwise, I recommend you guys building a farm, which is definitely going to be helpful. Also, you can create and manage your own fleet, send it into expeditions, but I'm going to have to drop a separate video for that as there's a longer discussion to have over there. Finally, we also have the upgrade tree, and this is the new thing that was added with the Beyond update, and there's a few things here that you need to keep in mind. Once you got your new freighter, you can actually start unlocking that tree really fast, and from this point on, everything else that you will want to unlock will require salvage frigate modules. But now the question that arises is, how do you even get these modules to begin with? Well, there are a few methods in the game that you can use, but mostly I'll go over 3 very easy ones. The first one involves simply crashed freighters. You can just go to one, inspect it for any cargoes, and then dig them up or destroy the protective doors and take whatever is inside. Chances are that you will get rewarded with one of these modules, but again, the drop chance, at least from what I was able to tell, seems rather small, so at most I believe you can expect about one of these salvage modules on average per freighter, but sometimes you might get really lucky. Another way to do it is by simply sending your fleet into missions. With each successful expedition, you have a chance of getting one of these salvage frigate modules when your expedition comes back. But again, it's random, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, but it's another source you can use. The final method, assuming you're willing to lose a little bit of standing with the current faction, involves destroying cargo pods that accompany frigates in space. So these are the small vessels that tend to float float nearby frigates or other smaller freighters. It's really easy to do this. You just attack them, you lose a little bit of standing, but there is quite a good chance for salvaged frigate modules to also drop, case in which you can quickly upgrade your entire tree. This is best done in the beginning of the game, or if you don't currently have a high standing with the Corvax, Gek or Viking, because if you already have like only 2 or 3 levels of standing, if you lose like 4 or 5, it doesn't really matter, you're still going to go back to 1. But it is going to matter a lot if, for example, you're level 20 and you're losing 5 levels, which 5 levels are really hard to get, especially those last, which involve a ton of missions. But again, it's all a matter of preference, that's why I wanted to give you these disclaimers. Now, before finishing the video, I have a few other things to mention really quickly, and the first one is of course the fact that you don't actually need to fully install the freighter warp upgrades in order to benefit from the range itself. For example, I can install the C, B and A class freighter warp reactors and I will still get the full hyperdrive range, even though I'm not fully constructing them. So in this case, I can just place them down, not even fill them up to install them with the required cadmium, oxygen filter, emerald, sodium diode and so on, and they will still give me the hyperdrive range. I think that at this point this is a slight little bug. Outside of this, both of your fleet as well as your ships will get transferred to the new freighters, so you don't have to worry about losing those, but you might require to reload your save file in order to see your ships appearing in the hangars. Outside of these, everything you have built inside the previous freighter will not transfer to the new one, so you best scrap everything you have before moving to the new one to at least get part of the materials back. And as far as the stuff inside the inventory, you will need to manually transfer this inside the transfer window that comes up when you make the transition to the new one. So just be careful with these ones, because these last two can be lost forever if you're not being careful. Anyway, with that, I believe we have covered everything when it comes to freighter acquisition, upgrading and everything else in between. So tell me if there's anything else I didn't cover, let me know down below. In the meantime, a like on this video would be super appreciated. Also, don't forget to subscribe and activate that notification bell, and I'll see you guys later.